The challenge. The twin suns of Caraxes Prime burned hot above the arena. Hundreds of alien warriors stood around the stone circle, cheering, shouting, roaring. Some came to fight. Most came to watch. The ground was stained with dust, sweat, and pride. And in the center of it all stood her. Velra, tall, fearless, silver armor shining in the sun, her long white hair braided down her back like a battle flag. She had defeated every challenger, from iron-skinned Joric beasts to blade-dancing Sealan champions. Every species, every size, every style. And still she stood. Her eyes scanned the crowd. "Is that all?" she shouted. Her voice echoed across the arena. "No one else dares challenge me?" No one moved. Some lowered their heads. Others looked away. She stepped forward and raised her weapon, an energy staff with 3 glowing edges. "I was told this galaxy had warriors. I see only cowards." A soft voice came from the back. "I'll challenge you." Heads turned. Silence fell over the arena. A single human stepped out of the shadows. No armor, no weapons, just a simple dark jacket and calm eyes. His name was Lucas. He walked slowly into the circle, his boots kicking up dust. The crowd laughed. "A human? Alone? Is this a joke? He brings no blade." Vielra tilted her head. "You know the rules, Earthling. If you lose, you leave in shame. If you win, you may command me." Lucas nodded. "I understand. You have no armor, no gear. I don't need them." She narrowed her eyes. "Then let us begin." The bell rang. She moved first, fast like lightning. Her energy staff cut through the air, aiming straight for his chest. But Lucas stepped to the side, just in time. No panic, no fear. He moved like he had already seen her attack. She swung again, faster this time. The blade passed within inches of his head. Still he didn't strike back, only blocked, dodged, waited. The crowd grew restless. Is he playing games? He's afraid to fight. Vielra growled and spun, aiming for his legs. He jumped, landed softly, balanced. Only now did his hand rise. He touched her weapon mid-swing and pushed it aside, just enough to shift her weight off balance. She stumbled. Not much, but enough. She spun back, eyes glowing. "You're not attacking," Lucas spoke gently. "Because I didn't come to defeat you. Then why are you here? To see if you're worth following." Vielra froze. Nobody had ever said that to her. Not in battle. Not in the arena. Not with her life at stake. She looked at him again. Really looked. Not a warrior's rage. Not fear. Just clarity. He saw her. Not her armor. Not her title. Her. She dropped her weapon. The crowd gasped. She took a step back and lowered her head. "I yield," she said. Shock moved through the arena like a wave. "You yield?" "I have never lost," she said, "but no one has ever beaten me without fighting." She fell to one knee. "By our laws, the one who defeats me may command me." She looked up at him. "And I do not say this out of defeat. I say it out of respect. I now call you Master." Lucas stood still. The suns above blazed. The crowd was dead silent, and then shouting erupted, some angry, some confused, some in awe, but none dared step into the circle, because they saw what Vielra saw. This man hadn't won by strength. He had won by understanding, by reading his enemy, by choosing not to hurt when he could. That was something the others never tried. Far above the arena, a cloaked ship hovered in orbit. A shadowy figure watched the scene unfold on a screen. A voice behind him said, "He defeated her." The figure narrowed his eyes. No, he changed her. He turned away. "Prepare the others. The human is not just a fighter. He's something worse." The voice trembled. "What?" The shadow answered with a growl. "He's a leader. The defeat that changed everything." The crowd never forgot what they saw that day. Vielra, the undefeated warrior of Caraxes, Prime, kneeling to a human, a man with no sword, no shield, and no anger. She had fought for years, for honor, for power, for escape. And yet, she had given it all away, willingly. Lucas stood in the arena long after the cheers faded. He didn't raise his hands, didn't smile. He just stared at the kneeling Valeria, confused by his own feelings. "I didn't come to rule you," he said softly. She looked up, her voice calm. "But you defeated me." "I didn't strike." "Exactly," she whispered. Valeria rose, slowly, and turned to the watching crowd. Her voice echoed across the stone walls. "I have faced fire beasts, blade dancers, gravity duelists, and lightning assassins. All were strong." She pointed to Lucas. "But this human showed me something none of them could." She paused. "He saw me. Not my body. Not my name. Not my weapon. Just me." That night, Lucas was brought to the high circle, the ruling body of her people. It was supposed to be a quiet ceremony, but nothing about it was quiet anymore. 7 elders sat in robes of gold and fire silk. Their faces were cold, their eyes sharp. "You are now Valera's chosen," one said. "That gives you command of her voice, her land, her army." Lucas shook his head. "I didn't ask for that." Another elder growled. "You earned it. That makes it law." Valera stepped forward. "It is true. By the challenge law he may command me. But he hasn't." The elders leaned in. "Then what does he want?" Lucas looked at them. "I want the fighting to stop. I want peace between your clans, and I want no more blood spilled for honor that means nothing." Silence. Until one elder laughed bitterly. "He wants peace, a soft word from a soft race." Another added, "Then he is unfit to lead a warrior." But Valera interrupted. "No. He is not soft. He is disciplined, in control." She placed a hand on her own chest. "And I would rather serve one human, with a steady heart, than 10 warriors who scream and burn everything." That moment changed her world. Many followed her, but many others hated it. Not because of Lucas, but because of what he represented. A new kind of power. Later that night, Lucas sat alone in the quarters they gave him, stone walls, alien architecture, yet quiet enough to think. Valera entered silently. "You didn't sleep." "No," he said. "Didn't feel right." She stood by the window, looking at the moons. "I thought if I beat enough warriors, I'd find one worthy to lead my people." Lucas looked at her. "You were never trying to rule, were you?" She shook her head. "No. I was trying to find a reason to stop fighting." He nodded slowly. "And now?" She turned to him. "You are the reason." A transmission blinked red on his table, encrypted, unregistered. He tapped it. A shadowy figure appeared, barely visible. "You have caused unrest, human." Lucas leaned forward. "Who is this?" A voice from the shadows. One that has waited years for the warrior Valera to fall. "She didn't fall," Lucas said. "She stood taller than anyone." The voice hissed. "You stole her. Changed her. Broke tradition. That means you are now part of our war." Lucas narrowed his eyes. "Then you just made your second mistake." "And the first?" He leaned closer to the screen. "Thinking I came alone." Across the galaxy, Earth Command picked up the signal. General Sato looked at the feed and smiled. "Looks like Lucas found something. Or someone," she said. "Prepare Observation Fleet Gamma." "But he hasn't requested backup," an officer replied. Sato nodded. "He won't." "Then why move?" She turned away. "Because that's what humans do. We don't conquer. We protect." And he just became someone worth protecting. In a secret moon base far from Carax's prime, the shadowy figure from the call looked at a glowing war map. Other alien leaders gathered around him. "We cannot allow a human to influence a warrior race," one said. Another added, especially not that human. He won through peace, that kind of victory on his spreads, the shadow growled. Then we spread something else. Fire. Back in her quarters, Velra placed her staff on the floor. I no longer need this, she said. Lucas raised an eyebrow. You're giving up your weapon? She shook her head. I'm not giving it up, I'm giving it meaning. It no longer defends just me. She looked into his eyes. It defends us. The Oathkeeper's test. The sky above Caraxes Prime cracked open with blue lightning, not from a storm, but from an ancient machine awakening for the first time in 500 years. At the center of the sacred mountain stood the Hall of Oaths, a dark towering temple built long before Velra's time. It only opened when a new leader was chosen. It only opened when someone was brave or foolish enough to take the Oathkeeper's test. And today, it opened for a human. Lucas stood at the base of the stairs looking up at the stone pillars covered in glowing alien runes. Velra stood beside him. You don't have to do this, she said. Many leaders skip the test. It's not required anymore. Lucas didn't move. Then why is it still here? She looked up. Because the Oathkeeper watches those who say they will lead and shows them what it really means. Lucas took the first step. Then let it show me. The doors opened with a sound like thunder. Lucas walked into the dark alone. The light outside faded. Silence swallowed him. Then slowly, a voice filled the air. You may wear the crown of honor, but will you wear the scars of truth? Lucas didn't answer. He just kept walking. First trial. The mind. The room lit up. Lucas stood in the middle of a battlefield, but it wasn't real. He was back on Earth. Smoke. Screams. Fire. His old squad was around him. Wounded. Scared. A voice echoed. Save them all. Or save the mission. You can't do both. Lucas looked around. He knew this memory. It wasn't just a test. It was real. Years ago, he chose the mission. He watched friends die. He looked at the illusion and whispered, I made that choice, I carry it. The battlefield vanished. Second trial. The blood. Now he stood before a mirror. In it, he saw himself holding a blade. Velra knelt before him. The voice whispered again, Strike the warrior. Prove you are her master. Take control. Lucas gritted. His teeth. No. The voice laughed. She gave herself to you. Use it. He stepped away from the mirror. I don't lead her by fear. I don't lead her by pain. I lead by choice. The mirror cracked. The illusion faded. Final trial. The spirit now. Lucas stood alone, facing a tomb. Inside, he saw his future. He was older. Alone. Buried on a planet no one remembered. No medals. No name. Forgotten. The voice grew softer. Is this enough? A future with no glory, no praise, only peace. Lucas smiled gently. That's all I ever wanted. The tomb faded. A new light appeared. The voice returned, no longer cold. It was calm, deep, proud. You did not pass with strength. You passed with sorrow, with memory, with restraint. You understand leadership, not as command, but as service. The walls lit up. Symbols floated in the air, spinning around him. A glowing band formed on his wrist, the Oathkeeper's mark. Outside the temple, Velra waited. Most challengers returned bloody, broken, or not at all. Then, slowly, the doors opened. Lucas stepped out. No wounds, no fear, just peace. She saw the glowing band on his arm. She dropped to one knee, not because of law, because of respect. The Oathkeeper chose you, she said. Lucas nodded. I didn't defeat the trials, I just faced them. She smiled. And that's why you passed. Far away in the dark corners of space, leaders from hostile factions saw the mark on Lucas's wrist. They recognized it. Only a few in history had ever earned it, and none of them had been human. One warlord hissed, That mark means he speaks for more than one world now. Another growled, We must stop him before others follow him. But it was too late. Lucas didn't want a crown. He didn't want a title. But now he carried something heavier. Hope. That night, as stars filled the sky, Lucas and Viola stood on a cliff above the city. She looked at him. You changed me. Lucas shook his head. No. I just reminded you who you already were. She took his hand. I am no longer a weapon. I am your voice. He looked at her gently. Then we speak. Together, in the shadows beyond the cliff, an assassin watched them, his orders clear. Kill the human. Silence the future. But as he raised his weapon, his scanner beeped. A message came through his earpiece. Abort. The human passed the Oath Keeper. Killing him now may wake something far worse. The assassin vanished into the dark. The Betrayal War. The city of Yarix-9 burned under a green sky. Screams echoed from its lower districts, and war sirens howled through every channel. Fires climbed high into the clouds, and civilian ships scrambled to flee. It wasn't an alien invasion. It was betrayal. Lucas stood at the edge of the command tower with Viola by his side. Below them, the capital of her people was being torn apart by her own blood, the Wraithborn, a faction of high-born warriors who refused to accept a human leader. They waited, she whispered. Waited until your mark appeared. Now they strike. Lucas didn't flinch. Because they think I'll run. She turned to him. Will you? He shook his head. No, but I won't fight them with fire either. Down in the war room, holograms blinked red, cities falling, supply lines cut, civilian routes bombed. The Wraithborn weren't just attacking. They were trying to destroy everything Lucas and Valeria had built together. General Halvek, one of the oldest warriors in the High Guard, slammed his hand on the table. This is what peace gets us. This is why we never bow to humans. Lucas stepped forward. No one bowed. You followed. Because it was right, Halvek growled. And what now? You will talk them down? Lucas paused, then nodded. Yes. An hour later, a single human shuttle flew through enemy airspace. Inside sat Lucas. No weapons, no army. Just a voice. He landed in the broken remains of Derek Hold, a fortress once loyal to Valeria. Now it was the Wraithborn's seat of rebellion. Guards surrounded his ship the moment it touched down. They pulled him out, tied his hands, kicked him to the floor before Commander Vesrix, the Wraithborn leader. Vesrix laughed. You came alone? Are you stupid or arrogant? Lucas looked up. Neither. I'm consistent. Vesrix circled him like a vulture. You poisoned our warrior with kindness. You stole her will. And now you come here thinking you can change? Us too? Lucas spoke calmly. You're not angry because I'm human. You're angry because I didn't take what was offered. I didn't use force. That scares you. Vesrix's eyes narrowed. I've crushed kings for less than what you've done. Lucas nodded. Then do it. Kill me. The room fell quiet. Even the guards looked unsure. Vesrix raised his blade, then paused. Why wasn't the human afraid? Lucas leaned forward. You think war makes you strong, but the moment someone stops fighting, you lose control. That's what you fear, not me. Change. Vesrix stepped back, hand trembling. Take him away, he shouted. But before the guards could move, boom, the walls shook, lights dimmed, and a voice echoed through every comm channel. This is Valeria. You touch him, you face me, you burn my cities, and I will rebuild them, without you. But if you surrender now, I promise mercy. Across the planet, her loyal forces rose. They weren't carrying weapons, they carried shields. They weren't destroying, they were protecting. City by city, they secured roads, homes, refugee centers. They didn't kill, they didn't burn. They stood still like walls made of resolve. The people saw, the people chose, and the Wraithborn began to fall apart. Inside Derek Hold, Vesrix stared at the floor. What trick is this? Lucas replied. No trick, just trust. The guards looked at each other. Then one by one they dropped their weapons. By nightfall the rebellion ended. No throne taken, no bloodbath, just a quiet storm. Stopped by one voice. Back in the capital, Valeria stood before thousands. She held Lucas's hand high. He could have burned them. He could have ordered death, but he chose to lead without war. She looked at her people. I followed him because he defeated me. Now I follow him because he showed me how to win without destroying. That night, Lucas sat alone in the courtyard of the high tower. Valeria joined him. You didn't have to go alone, she said. I did, he replied, because if I took even one soldier, they'd say I came with fear. She smiled. And now? He looked at the stars. They fear what I didn't do. Far beyond their world, in a war council of forgotten empires, a dark figure listened to the reports. Earth's agent crushed a rebellion. Without blood? Another voice whispered. He bends warriors with words. The figure stood. Then we must remind him that not all wars can be stopped with mercy. The chamber went dark. When monsters wake. The stars above Sector Y7 flickered unnaturally. Space twisted. The cold silence broke. Something ancient had awakened. In the deep void beyond known territory, a fleet of unmanned probes vanished near a dead system. No signals, no explosions, just gone. When one drone finally returned, it carried a single image, a black moon splitting open like a cracked egg. And inside, something with eyes that glowed like dying suns. On Caraxes Prime, Lucas stood before a new kind of council. Scientists, historians, and elder guardians. They showed him the footage. He didn't flinch. Valeria stood beside him. This matches no known species, one scholar said. No record, no warning. A silent monk whispered, It doesn't match science because it matches prophecy. Lucas raised an eyebrow. Whose prophecy? The monk looked straight at him. Ours. In the sacred library of the mountain temple, old scrolls were unsealed for the first time in centuries. One showed a drawing. A man with no crown. No sword. Just eyes full of sorrow, and behind him a galaxy torn in half, written beneath it in glowing ink. He who defeats the heart of war shall awaken the mouth of silence. Lucas blinked. That's comforting. Hours later, a transmission came through, not from the moon, but from inside it. A voice, calm, deep, and not entirely alive. To the one called Lucas, you have fulfilled the signs. You carry the restraint that once bound us. Now, the chain is broken. Now we come. Across the stars, things began to happen. Old machines reactivated. Forgotten ruins started humming. Languages no one spoke suddenly echoed from deep caverns, and people, normal people, started dreaming of eyes in the dark. Lucas prepared to leave. He didn't bring soldiers, just Valeria, and a ship designed for speed, not war. Are you sure? She asked as the engines roared. I don't think I'm meant to fight them, Lucas replied. I think I'm meant to face them. They reached the dead system in 3 days. The black moon hovered above a cracked planet like a scar. As they approached, their ship was pulled in by a silent force. No weapons fired, no warnings, only a slow descent. And then, they landed. The inside of the moon was not made of rock. It was a cathedral, massive, cold, carved from obsidian and stars. Statues lined the walls, giants in armor, their heads bowed. And at the far end of the hall, a being waited, not flesh, not metal, something in between, tall, still, surrounded by light that flickered like it was alive. You are the pattern breaker, it said to Lucas. Lucas stepped forward. I'm just a man. Exactly, it replied, and that is why you are dangerous. Valeria kept her hand on her blade, eyes scanning every shadow. The creature looked at Lucas. We were made to fight, built to end wars by making them eternal. But one of us escaped. One of us chose mercy, and that memory created the prophecy. Lucas nodded. And now? The being stepped closer. You are the test. If you fight us, we awaken. If you walk away, we return to sleep. Lucas looked around the hall. So many weapons, so much silence. He closed his eyes and then said the hardest thing he'd ever said. I forgive you. The creature flinched. You. What? Lucas stepped forward. You were made for war. I was made to end it. I forgive you so no one has to bleed anymore. Silence. Then, the walls began to change color, from black to white. The statues bowed deeper. The light grew warm, and the being fell to one knee. You passed. Viola stepped closer. What just happened? Lucas whispered. I told them what they were never allowed to believe. Back on Caraxes Prime, the stars changed. The dead system now glowed on every map, no longer marked as forbidden, but as watched. The Galactic Union declared Lucas not a threat, not a savior, but something new. A pathbreaker, one who could bend fate without destroying it. In a dark room, a warlord watched the report. He passed even them without a weapon? Another figure spoke. He passed with words. Again, the warlord snarled. Then we change our strategy. What do? We don't send soldiers. He turned. We send someone who doesn't believe in mercy. Back in the temple, Lucas stood at the balcony with Viola. They called me a prophecy, he said. She nodded. And you refused it. That's the only reason it worked, he said softly. Viola looked at him proud. You lead, not by claiming power, but by letting go of it. Above them, the stars shimmered. And for the first time in centuries, the mouth of silence stayed closed. The master no one expected. The galaxy had seen warlords, tyrants, kings. They had seen conquerors rise and fall, but they had never seen a man like Lucas, a man who refused to rule. And yet, billions began to follow him, not out of fear, not because of blood, but because of choice. It started with the Treaty of Caraxes. Lucas and Viola signed it together, a promise of peace between warrior worlds and Earth. No forced disarmament, no hidden threats. Just trade, trust, and truth. And for the first time, warriors who once fought to the death now broke bread together. But not everyone celebrated. In secret, other powers watched and whispered, his peace is a trick. He softens, then with words before Earth strikes. He must want control. And yet, no strike ever came. Just messengers, just kindness, just change. Lucas stood before a council of 12 alien species. He wore no armor, no crown, only his calm voice. I'm not asking you to follow me, he said. I'm asking you to lead yourselves better. One leader asked, Why you? Lucas smiled. Because I didn't ask to be here. And that's exactly why I deserve to be. Across stars, worlds began to shift. On Unari Prime, gladiator pits were turned into schools. On Veltor, warriors trained in logic and law before swordplay. And on Zerta 6, 2 enemy clans signed peace after a single visit from a human diplomat trained under Lucas. They called themselves the Listeners. Back on Caraxes, Viola walked beside Lucas in a garden once scorched by flame. This never happened before you, she said. I didn't change the galaxy, he replied. It changed itself. I just gave it permission. She looked at him, serious now. They call you master. He shook his head. I never asked for that. But they need it. A word to describe someone who leads without force. He looked at her, then let it mean something new. Not command, not control, just responsibility. She smiled. Then they chose the right word. Still not all followed willingly. Whispers returned. from broken factions, from bitter kings, and from a name thought long gone. Zorkan, a warlord with no fear, no code, and no soul. He rose from exile, watching Lucas unite where others had divided. Peace is a lie, Zorkan said. Kindness is weakness wrapped in pretty words. He gathered ships, built armies, and sent one message. The master must fall, or the galaxy will forget how to fight. The message reached Caraxes. Lucas read it in silence. Vaelra asked, "Do we prepare the fleet?" He shook his head. "No. We prepare the people," she frowned. "For war?" "For something harder," he said, "for faith." In the weeks that followed, no armies marched. No fire rained from the sky. Instead, Lucas traveled. He met farmers, fighters, pilots, poets. He listened, and slowly, he taught them something no blade could. You are not strong because you fight. You are strong because you choose not to. One by one, planets refused Zorkan's offers. One by one, his messages returned unread, until only a few stood with him, and even they began to question. Why follow a man who leads with fear, when there's one who leads with trust? In the central square of Caraxes Prime, a statue was raised, not of Lucas with a sword, not of Lucas in battle, just a figure with an open hand. Below it, the words, "The Master we chose." One day, Vaelra returned from a diplomatic mission. She found Lucas sitting under a quiet tree, surrounded by children asking him questions. One child asked, "Why do they call you Master?" Lucas looked at the sky. "Because once I said no to power." That night, Lucas and Vaelra walked under the stars. She said, "You're not what they expected?" He laughed softly. "Neither are you." She touched his hand. "They follow you because you don't need to be followed." He looked at her gently. "Then I hope they follow themselves even more." Far away, in the cold darkness of space, Zorkan sharpened his blade. His eyes burned, his warships glowed red, and he whispered, "Mercy is over. The Master will learn what monsters truly are." The one she chose. The stars over Caraxes Prime dimmed for the first time in a century. It wasn't a storm. It wasn't a solar shift. It was Zorkan. His fleet blocked out the sky. 50 warships, thousands of soldiers. The galaxy's last warlord had returned, not to win land but to kill hope. And he had only one target. Lucas. Lucas stood on the balcony of the high temple, staring into the darkened heavens. He didn't speak. He didn't panic. He just watched. Vaelra stepped beside him. "They won't stop. They want your blood." He nodded. "Then we give them a choice." That night, Lucas broadcasted a message to Zorkan's fleet and the whole galaxy. No threats, no orders, just truth. You want to destroy me because I didn't fight. But I never told you not to be strong. I just asked you to think, what does your strength protect? He looked directly into the camera. If killing me restores your pride, then I was never your enemy. Your enemy is your fear. The message spread like wildfire. Across systems, across species, some wept, some shouted, and some aboard Zorkan's own ships. Hesitated, but Zorkan didn't. He sent one final message. He dies, tonight. The attack began. Missiles rained toward the capital, shields activated, defenses lit up. But it wasn't enough. Zorkan had planned for everything, except one thing. Vaelra. She didn't wait for orders. She took a single ship, alone, straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. No stealth, no fear, only fire in her eyes. Inside Zorkan's command ship, alarms blared. "She's coming straight for us." He smiled. "Good, let her watch him die." But Vaelra didn't come to watch. She came to end it. She crashed into the ship's hull, tearing through walls with her bare hands. Nothing could stop her. She didn't carry a weapon. She was the weapon. On the planet below, Lucas watched her. On a screen, his voice trembled. "She's doing this for me." But an aide replied, "No, sir. She's doing it because of you. Inside the command ship, Vailra reached Zorkan. He stood tall, armor glowing red. You were my greatest warrior once, he growled. Now you bow to a human? She didn't blink. I don't bow. I choose. He attacked. She fought. It wasn't a duel. It was history crashing against the future. And in the end, she won. Zorkan lay broken, and with his defeat, the ship stopped firing. They turned, they ran, and the sky cleared. But the price was too high. Vailra returned in a broken shuttle, smoke trailing, blood covering her armor. She stumbled onto the temple steps where Lucas waited. He ran to her, held her. Her breath was shallow, but her voice was strong. You were never my master, she whispered. You were my choice. Tears fell from his eyes. And you were mine. The medics tried everything, but some wounds are deeper than the body. Vailra closed her eyes, resting her head on his chest. Her last words, live better. The galaxy mourned. Not just a warrior, but a symbol, a protector. The one who chose him. Lucas disappeared for a while. No throne, no messages, no wars. He walked the roads she once traveled, spoke to the people she once protected. And when he returned, he wore no armor. But they still called him master. And now, they understood why. On the steps of the rebuilt temple, a new statue stood, not of Lucas, but of Vailra. Her hand was outstretched, pointing forward, a message carved in stone. Below her feet, I chose him, so you could choose yourselves. Years later, a child stood before the statue and asked, who was she? And an old man smiled and replied, she was the fiercest soul in the stars, and she followed the only man brave enough to walk into fire, with empty hands. In the end, Lucas never ruled, but he changed the galaxy more than any emperor ever had, because he fought no battles. And still, he won every war.